Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you Immigration Law on Your Side.
Hello and welcome to another Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. Kasama si Kuya Yo, streaming from Las Vegas, Nevada sa studios ng PHLV Radio sa isa na namang public service program para sa ating immigrant community. Kasama natin ngayon si Attorney Flomi Javier Diza from San Francisco, California sa office po ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. Pag-uusapan po natin ngayon ang I94. If you've been here to the United States, nakatanggap kayo nito ng I94. Dati papel ito, ngayon ay digitized na ito. Ano nga ba ang I94? You know, everyone who comes to the United States will be given an I94 or the form I94, except of course ang United States citizens and mga returning resident aliens or aliens with immigrant visas and most Canadian citizens na pumapasok or magta-transit dito sa United States. Air and sea travelers will be issued I-94 during the admissions process sa port of entry at dito nyo makikita kung gaano kahaba ang stay nyo dito sa United States. So let's welcome Attorney Diza from San Francisco, California para mabigyang linaw kung ano ang importance ng I-94 na ito and what issues there may be sa I-94. Kung kailangan palitan ito, i-extend or kung nawala ito, paano nyo aayusin ito? So let's bring in Attorney Diza from San Francisco, California via Zoom. Magandang gabi po sa iyo, Attorney Diza.
Magandang gabi, Kuya Johan, and siyempre sa mga viewers and listeners natin, magandang gabi din sa inyong lahat at tumutok po tayo sa ating discussion ngayong gabi dahil importante po ito dahil medyo nag-is na ang travel, yung pag-travel, Kuya Johan, iba, hindi na nire-require ang face mask at marami na ang dumarating dito sa US on a visitor visa or employment visa and also as immigrants. So, very timely ang ating pag-uusapan dahil discuss natin kung ano yung tinatawag na I-94, yung arrival or departure records na ini-issue sa inyo once you enter the United States. Mm-hmm. So, yun po ating pag-uusapan ko yun. By the way, I can see you from on the Zoom. Okay lang ba to, Johan?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Alright, maraming salamat at tutukan po natin ang ating discussion ngayon with Kuya Johan.
Okay, so I-94, mga kababayan, ito yung pagkapumasok kayo ng United States. If you're from the Philippines and normally during many years ago, ito yung papel na binibigay sa inyo. I have heard na iba na ang process ngayon. I think it will be sa cellphone na lang siguro or whatever. Alamin natin from Attorney Diza kung ano nga ba itong I-94 na ito, Attorney?
Yes, as we mentioned sa kanina, ang I-94 is ito yung form at arrival or arrival / departure record na binibigay o in-issue sa mga non-citizen, entering the United States or they are adjusting status or extending their status into the United States. So pagpasok po ninyo, the CBP officer will then stamp or put yung entry nyo kung kailan kayo dumating at kung anong expiration sa database po ng CBP, yung Customs Border Protection. So dapat ang mga visitor or yung mga pumapasok dito, right, they should leave the United States after the expiration ng I-94 nila.
Mm-hmm. So, dyan po pala sa I-94 na yan, makikita ng mga turista or any other visitor to the United States kung gaano kahaba yung allowed stay nila dito sa US. Ano po?
That's correct, Kuya Johan. Karamihan sa mga client natin, pag tinanong mo during the consultation sheet, usually ang tinatanong natin, especially people who are adjusting or extending their status or simply wanting to know kung ano yung validity ng kanilang stay. Minsan people mistook the I-94 or yung duration ng status sa kanilang immigrant visa. So these are two different things, mga kababayan. Ang visa po ninyo, let's say tourist visa, nabigyan po kayo ng single entry or nabigyan kayo ng 5 years or 10 years. So, porket nabigyan po kayo ng 10 taon, hindi po ibig sabihin na okay na kayo mag-stay dito ng 10 taon, hindi po yun. So, ang determining factor po ninyo kung hanggang kailan ang inyong stay sa United States at dun po sa I-94 na yan. So it's really important, mga kababayan, na tignan po ninyo yung I-94. And again, minsan mga kababayan natin ang sinasabi, wala pong binigay sa akin, na I-94. lalong-lalo na yung mga frequent travelers, Kuya Johan, na nasanay sila na may stamp and then nabibigyan sila ng small piece of paper ng entry documents nila. So sasabihin nila, ngayon sa akin hindi ko po alam. So that's really becomes an issue sa mga kababayan natin. So it's really important for them to find out kung hanggang kailan ang kanilang status.
Wow, yes, magandang nalinaw natin yan kasi ang iba, ikala nila kung ano yung nasa visa nila, that's how long they can stay here. Ito po ba, attorney, yung duration ng stay mo dito sa United States in the I-94? Kunwari, turista ka. Ito po ba, iba-iba? Kunwari, may dalawa kami magkasama. Halimbawa, ako'y mabigyan ng 6 months, yung isa ay mabibigyan ng 1 buwan. Is there a possibility na magkakaiba po yung mga duration ng stay na allowed sa isang grupo, sa magkakapamilya?
That's really a possible scenario, Kuya Johan, lalong-lalo na yung mga malimit dito sa US. So, let's say nandito ulit kayo last year, no? At you spent 6 months dito or nag-extend pa kayo dahil sa COVID and you stayed in the US for 8 months. And then wala pang 1 taon, bumalik na naman kayo. So, meron po kayong history. Makikita kasi nila sa travel history po ninyo that you've been inside the US previously, right? You spent 8 months. So, the CBP officer, yung Custom Border Patrol officer would look at your history and determine kung ano po ang bibigay sa inyo. And there's a possibility na because you have been in the US previously, like last year lang or 2 years ago, and you spent a lot of time, posible kayong bibigyan ng one month lang. And sometimes lalagyan din nila ng annotation sa inyong passport na no extension of status or no adjustment of status dahil nakikita nila yung history and of course nakikita rin nila yung family ninyo dito. So sa mga kababayan natin, pagpasok po ninyo, importante tignan po ninyo ang inyong I-94 yung passport, di ba? So pagdating po ninyo dyan, ang gagawin po ng CBP ay usually ilalagay sa database niya kung kailan kayo dumating. Siyempre yung information po ninyo, kung kailan kayo dumating, ito po yung date of admission. Pangalawa, ilalagay din niya kung kailan kayo, yung sinasabi natin po yung duration ng status mo, duration of stay mo. And then pangatlo, ang CBP officer would then enter into the database kasi nasa computer na yan. So doon nila ngayon titignan, Kuya Johan, kung hanggang kailan. Kasi minsan ang officer, mga Pilipino medyo kinakabahan, baka hindi tayo, we are not paying attention sa conversation nyo with the CBP officer at akala nyo 6 months lang or sinabi, or minsan ang officer din, hindi rin sinasabi, di ba? At welcome to the US na lang sasabihin sa'yo at hindi mo alam kung nabigyan ka nga pala ng 1 taon, isang buwan, 3 buwan, or 6 na buwan. So it's really important for you to go to the website ng CBP and find out kung ano po ang allowed stay po ninyo sa US.
Ngayon po ba, attorney, itong I-94, is this still a physical paper that's being given at the port of entry?
Not anymore, Kuya Johan, and they digitize ang kanilang system. And as we mentioned, the CBP officer would just then input yung information nyo and yung allowed stay dun sa kanilang database. And what you're going to do is you're going to the CBP I-94 website, madali pong search yan, and then you key in yung mga information na kinakailangan. And then makikita po ninyo yung latest I-94 ninyo. So what I recommend client is to print out yung I-94 para may records po kayo kasi hindi natin alam kung ang CBP website, baka biglang mabura o biglang mawala o magkaroon ng problema. So at least mayroon kayong proof that you were admitted on this date and that you were allowed to stay on this, that duration of status that was given to you. Yes,
attorney, isa sa mga tinatanong natin mga kababayan, like what you mentioned, mas magandang i-print, Attorney, if you're here, say for example, on a tourist visa, kailangan bang, of course, say for example, you printed this, kailangan bang palagi mong dala-dala ito kasama ng passport mo just in case na matanong kayo ng any immigration or any law enforcement, kailangan bang ipakita ang iyong I-94?
Well, just have a peace of mind, right? Pwede po niyo dalhin yan para lang, lalong na kung nasa duration, nasa status po kayo, lalong-lalo na siguro nung panahon ni President Trump o nagiging strict sila sa enforcement, Kuya Johan, di ba? Like minsan, show me your papers, lalo na yung sa Arizona. So yes, it's a really good idea, but now with the Biden administration, I don't think it's really necessary. I think the more important thing to consider now is for sa mga kababayan natin to keep a records, just in case they need that to leave the US and then to extend their status or to adjust status. So nagkasawa sila ng US citizen, kailangan nila ng proof that they were lawfully admitted in the United States.
Isa sa mga tinanong sa atin, attorney, is itong mga kababayan natin who came to the United States and then may bibisitahin sila sa Canada, for example, for a few days only while they are a tourist also here in the States. Bigla silang, pupunta po kami sa Niagara Falls sa Canada. Ito bang, how does this affect your I-94? Does it break your stay here because lumabas kayo, pumunta kayo ng Canada?
Yes, but keep in mind mga kababayan natin that if you travel to Canada, you also need a visa, right? So important kong alamin yan. If you have a US and Canadian visa, that's okay. So let's say you stayed here for 3 months, at plano niyo pumunta sa, sabi mo nga, sa Niagara Falls. So then pagbalik nyo, panibagong I-94 ulit ang ibibigay sa inyo. Usually yan sa border na, lalo na if you just drive, or let's say sa Vancouver kayo pumunta at nag-drive lang din kayo. So that's also a new I-94, Kuya Johan. So either they will give you another fresh 6 months or they'll give you the remaining months na originally binigay sa'yo, lalo na kung sandali lang kayo sa Canada at babalik na naman kayo sa United States.
And over the course of our programs, attorney, napag-uusapan natin your records in immigration. They're always there. In the future, like for example, a few years from the time na pumunta ka dito, nagkaroon ka ng I-94, bumisita ka, nag-attend ka ng conference or something like that. When you are asked for your records of your previous I-94s from many, many years ago, I would assume na ma-access mo ito sa online, attorney, and you'd be able to submit and fulfill your requirements for future adjustments if needed.
That's correct, Kuya Johan. But keep in mind, mga kababayan natin, na you can only access 10 years, right? Within the last 10 years. And marami sa ating kababayan that they've been here more than 10 years ago. Right? So in order for you to access that, as we mentioned, Kuya Johan, is just go to the website ng CBP and key in the necessary information. Ito yung, kailangan mo lang yung passport mo pagpasok, of course yung pangalan mo, yung date of birth mo, and then yung Philippine passport mo. And then click mo doon, makikita yung pangalan mo at saka yung date of admission mo. In fact, the good thing about this CBP website, Kuya Johan, as you mentioned kanina, you can access yung travel history mo. So it's really important for you to keep those records, lalo na yung mga nagsisitizen. Kahit green card holder ka nga pala, makikita mo rin yung entries mo dito, Kuya Johan. So yung iba, pag nandun yung records, makikita rin. At kung i-compute mo yung stay mo sa Pilipinas for purposes of filing a naturalization, pwede rin. And this CBP website is really very helpful sa mga kababayan natin, to access their information.
All right. So, actually, mas maganda na rin siguro na online kasi kung pagka dati yung papel, baka na-misplace mo, hindi mo na rin makita. So, at least ngayon, it's online. Attorney, nabanggit niyo yung passport kanina. Although, we've already mentioned many episodes ago that mas maganda kung papasok kayo mga kababayan is mahaba pa yung validity ng inyong Philippine passport or any other foreign passports. But what if, attorney, your passport is about to expire, nakapagbiyahe ka pa, and will you be given an I-94 beyond the expiration date of your passport?
Unfortunately, no. So, bibigay lang sa'yo ang rule dyan, Kuya Johan, is kung pa-expire na, usually 6 months as we mentioned, sa mga tourist visa natin, mga kababayan, even employment-based yung mga H-1Bs. Right, so it's really important to look at the validity of your Philippine passport because once you enter the US at let's say 3 months na lang, mag-expire na ang passport nyo, bibigyan lang po kayo ng 3 months. Kung 2 months na lang validity, yun lang din ang bibigay sa inyo. So it's really important na to plan, your travel to the US, plan before you travel to the US and make sure na ma-maximize nyo ang stay nyo, lalo na kung gusto nyo, stay dito ng 6 na buwan. And tama ka, Kuya Johan, nung unang panahon, yung I-94 na yan, as we mentioned, stapler lang yan sa passport, di ba? So, kalimitan niya nawawala dahil either you renew your passport at hindi naman kailangan yung I-94 for your renewal, tinatanggal mo yan, right? Or probably, sa tagal ng panahon, hindi mo alam kung nasaan. So yeah, it's now that you can access online. It's really important then that you go to the website ng CBP and print out then yung travel history niyo at saka yung recent I-94 po ninyo.
Will it follow that when we leave the United States, magdating mo dun sa check-in ka na sa Philippine Airlines or whatever other airline, dahil wala ka ng physical paper na i-surrender doon, will it follow na when you get out of the United States, naka-record na rin yan sa kanilang online system na lumabas kayo, attorney?
Correct, Kuya Johan. Digitized na lahat dyan. So if you want to give it to the airline, that's also okay. But that should be fine na kahit hindi mo bibigyan kung hindi hiningi kasi nagtitrigger naman sa system nila that you already left the US. Karamihan sa mga questions sa ating mga kababayan pa, Kuya Johan, is lalong-lalo na yung mga overstay na, yung mga nag-TNT for a long period of time. Ang usually tanong sa atin is, safe ba akong umuwi? Di ba? Or wala na yung I-94 ko, okay po ba kung umuwi? Yun na, ang usual, ang sagot natin is of course yes, right? It's your right na mag-travel at hindi ka dapat i-hold, di ba, dun sa airport dahil sa overstay ka. In fact, matutuwa pa nga ang immigration because instead of them, looking for you and catching you and putting you in removal proceedings and spend their resources, di ba?
Yeah.
Sa prison or sa immigration hold or before the immigration judge, kung umuwi ka at your own, that's all okay. Kung wala na ang I-94 mo, that's also okay. Right? Just because lahat naman na nasa system na yon, yung pangalan mo and date of birth mo, dun nila i-record yung departure.
Attorney, isa sa mga pinakamainit na tinatanong ng mga kababayan natin, although we'll answer this after we head over to a break, pero mga kaibigan, ang tinatanong nyo palagi is, paano ba ito ma-extend? Katatatak pa lang, tinatanong na kaagad ka, paano ma-extend ang kanilang stay? So, sasagutin ni attorney yan, mga kababayan, how do you extend your I-94 status or your duration of stay dito sa United States? Sa pagbabalik po ng Immigration Law on Your Side dito sa PHLV Radio, hatid sa atin ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. Let's remind you kung paano po ninyo makokontak ang ating mga kaibigan sa Reeves Immigration Law Group. Magbabalik po kami pagkatapos po nito.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees, even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
All right, welcome back to Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. We are streaming on PHLV Radio platforms every Wednesday, mga kababayan, 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And mga kaibigan, we're also available as a podcast on several platforms including Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Makinig po kayo sa aming mga updates ni Attorney Diza tungkol po sa immigration. Before we headed to a break, mga kaibigan, ito yung million-dollar question. Pagka tinatakan na kayo ng Customs and Border Protection sa mga airport, pumasok na kayo. And then nakita nyo na kung ang duration of stay nyo ay whatever, 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months. Ang unang itinatanong, paano ito ma-extend? May kasal akong attendance sa ganitong buwan. So, attorney, paano ba ito na-extend or if it's possible at all?
Yes, Kuya Johan. The good thing about yung being admitted and inspected, at meron kayong proof of entry, Kuya Johan, you can always extend your status. Meaning, if you entered as a visitor visa, pwedeng extend yan, another 6 months. If you entered as an H-1B or employment, pwede rin, another 3 years. Right? L1 or any of those non-immigrant status, kagaya ng mga entertainers, pwede rin kasi pare-pareho yan ang category ng immigrant visa. So make sure mga kababayan natin that look at the I-94 online. Kung tama ba ang nilagay ng officer? Tama ba na ang classification na admission ko, tourist visa ba? Bakit tinatakan ako ng entertainment visa, di ba? Hindi naman ako magpe-perform. So make sure that you do that. Now, once you have seen your I-94 online, print that out and look at your options dito sa US kung anong plano ninyo. Kalimitan, Kuya Johan, ang tinatawag natin, kasi pwedeng posible yan, either extension of status, change of status, or adjustment. So posible yung tatlong scenario na yan. Or of course, or uuwi, yung pang-apat. So yung extending of status, very common yan, Kuya Johan, especially during the pandemic. At malimit yung mga airlines nagka-cancel yan, di ba? Or walang masakyan na aeroplano, kahit saan ka magtingin, wala. Yung dati mong flight na paalis ka na in 3 months, naabutan ka ng pandemic at naabutan ka ng kung ano mga restrictions like quarantine, nagkasakit ka o nagkaroon ka ng COVID. So definitely hindi ka pwede mag-fly. So people are asking ano ang gagawin because a lot of people are anxious, and just because they don't want to violate the status. So ideally, mga kababayan, if that happens to you, you need to file the extension before the expiration of status, right? Keep that in mind. You cannot extend your status or change the status for that matter unless you are in status. Kasi there's nothing to extend kung expired na, mga kababayan, ang inyong status. So ideally, what we tell our clients is wag naman kaagad ang pagpasok, wag mag-file ka na ng extension, di ba? Parang very obvious naman.
Obvious masyado.
Yeah, right? But the truth is, ang processing time is more than 6 months. So, but we don't advise sa mga kababayan natin na mag-file ka agad dahil yung intent, baka sabihin nila, you are just trying to, look for an option for you in the US. So ideally, siguro mga 3 months bago mag-expire, giving the USCIS the opportunity to, decide your case. Kasi with the COVID and everything, ang daming excuses ng USCIS. Di ba? Yung mga delays, walang mga officers, walang mag-decide ng kaso mo. So, 3 months bago mag-expire, lalo na kung binigyan ka ng 6 months, to extend or change of status. Kasi posible yung scenario, Kuya Johan, na mag-change ka rin ng status from, let's say, from J1, right? Exchange visitor ka, you were assigned to work in a hospital, on a restaurant or in a hotel, right? Yung mga walang 2-year restrictions, 2-year residency requirement, pwede sila mag-change ng status from J1 to tourist visa. Para lang kasi during that time na nasa J1 sila, hindi sila nakapasyal, kundi puros trabaho sila, So ngayon, this opportunity for them to change status. So either way, either extending your status or changing your status, mga kababayan, you need to file that before this status expires. And of course, this should be supported by some evidence. Like we mentioned kanina, hindi kayo makapag-book ng flight. Or for example, gusto mo pang mamasyal sa Amerika, just because US is a huge, big country na ang dami mong pasyalan, lalo na kung may mga kamag-anak ka pa sa East Coast and you want to visit them there, during your birthday or you attending some, wedding, as you mentioned, or, graduation. And you have to document that why the extension is necessary. So file it on time before your visa expires and document the reason why you want to extend your status by saying that, I have some relatives in the US, I can stay with my friend in New York, and I have the money. I have still my business in the Philippines, and I have my job in the Philippines. My children are still there. So you have to convince USCIS that you are that your case will be approved in extending or changing your status.
And like what you said, attorney, medyo mahaba pala yung process of the extension. It might actually be approved or you get any word about your application of extension after na nung supposed time na umalis ka. So how does that work, attorney? Kung alam nyong mag-e-end na yung status mo, yung duration ng stay mo in December, for example, and wala pa yung application, wala pang word about your extension.
The Immigration and Nationality Law, Kuya Johan, allows you to stay, right, while waiting for the result. So let's say, sabi mo nga, pag-expire ka ng December, you filed it in September, for example, extension. December na, wala pa. And of course, ang batas, pwede ka naman mag-extend ng January, February, until March para hintayin mo yung decision, right? Na para lang, for immigration purposes, hindi ka nagva-violate ng status as long as you file your extension or change of status on time. Now, maraming mga kababayan natin yung nasa dilemma anong gagawin, di ba? Wala pa, February na, attorney, Marso na. So 3 buwan na ako dito, magta-3 buwan na, what's my option? Now, what I tell client is, kung tapos na yung bakasyon mo, right? Or gusto mo nang umuwi, you don't have to wait for the result, di ba? Kasi paano kung ang result is after a year, and that happens, often, Kuya Johan, na ang result or decision would come in after a year. The problem with the result is, for example, na-approve ka, ang ibibigay lang na extension sa'yo is yung another 6 months. Hindi ka pwedeng bigyan ng 1 year, di ba? So let's say, expect ka ng December, ang request mo ng extension, Kuya Johan, is hanggang June lang. Right? So paano kung July na, wala pa? So what we advise our client is either, try to file another extension if it's necessary for them to file, or leave the US already, right? But keep in mind that once you leave the US, you already abandoned your extension request. But is that okay? The answer is yes, that's okay, because you can just wait for them to say that you're approved or not. Para pagbalik mo dito sa US, walang issue. And as I always tell my client is, you need to document what you've done, yung request mo, at kung kailan ka umuwi, at anong ginawa mo, pagpa-follow up kung meron. So that's something to keep in mind, Kuya Johan, when our clients are extending their status or changing their status at wala pang results in 3 to 6 months from the time they file.
Okay. Medyo complicated na rin, kaya kailangan you keep good records, katulad nga ng sinasabi ni Attorney Diza. Attorney, sa dami nitong mga kailangan gawin, there's bound to be some mistakes na makukomit ng ating mga kababayan or the officers, no? What if nagkaroon ng mistake sa entry ng inyong I-94? Can that be corrected, Attorney?
Yes, Kuya Johan, very common nangyayari yan. Ang mistake na yan is yung admission mo, right? Yung admission date, ibang araw sa last year pa, di ba? Parang, bakit 2021 pa yung admission? Kararating ko lang, di ba? So obviously, parang overstay ka na, wala, kararating mo pa lang. So, or yung class of admission mo, instead na nilagay B1, B2, nilagay ka entertainer visa, like O1 or O2. So you need to contact the CBP where you entered, para makorek ka agad. And of course, be vigilant, mga kababayan, kasi the best way yan is yung kararating mo lang, hindi yung matagal na, lalong-lalo na kung nakita mo kaagad once you enter and you search the website, di ba, nandun na yung information at nandun ka pa, then you can probably ask the CBP officer to correct. And of course, it's a lot better kung nasa US pa kayo para at least you can consult an attorney how to correct that mistake. Kasi kung nasa Pilipinas kayo, more difficult, lalong-lalo nag-expire na yung status. So it's better while you're still in the US and while you're in status to correct that mistake.
Ayun, okay. And ang mga kababayan natin, they can also reach out to you, Attorney, if they need help regarding this, na i-correct nila, mag-contact. Kasi, they're new here in the States, they're just visiting. They probably wouldn't know kung saang opisina sila dapat tumawag. Baka mag-Google lang sila, Attorney. Pwede ba silang tumawag sa inyo para matulungan natin?
Yes, Kuya Johan, ang opisina namin still renders free legal consultation, Zoom consultation, and I really, thank the PHLV Radio because we get more clients from the PHLV Radio. In fact, they hear us from PHLV Radio, lalong-lalo sa YouTube. Kikita nila, in fact, most of the questions that we have, dun sa ating programa. In fact, we cover a lot of topics dito po sa PHLV Radio. Right, and we get a lot of calls regarding the issues that we discussed here. We still render free legal consultation, mga kababayan. Yung aming discussion ni Kuya Johan ay general discussion lang po, at of course, it's a really good idea to call us, consult an immigration attorney to discuss your case. Right, so usually sa YouTube, ang mga tinatanong ng client natin, they heard us and they want to ask about the Child Status Protection Act. Very common yan, yung death ng petitioner. At meron pang isa na palagi nilang nababanggit na napakinggan po tayo sa PHLV Radio. Mga kababayan, itong I-94, it's really important din, lalong-lalo na yung mga nag-TNT na dito, yung mga nag-overstay, and finally they were able to marry a US citizen or find an employment under 245I. Right? Importante po yung I-94 nyo, lalong-lalo na yung mga, for you to adjust the status. Kahit may asawa po kayo, mayroong employer na will petition kayo, kailangan mo yan. Because one of the requirements, mga kababayan natin, for you to adjust status, right, either through marriage or employment, is to prove that you were admitted, lawfully admitted and inspected. And the best evidence, mga kababayan, of course, yung I-94 nyo na may stamp, may tatak, o dun sa website, at saka yung US visa po ninyo. Now, kung nawawala ang inyong I-94, let's say yung piece of paper niyan because you've been here more than 10 years ago, merong paraan yan. You can always request, a replacement. Magbabayad lang po kayo ng filing fee and of course consult an attorney kung paano kukunin yan. Dahil po, hindi po kayo makaka-adjust ng status into a green card kung wala kayong proof of admission. Diba? At makita nila na you came in with your real name, na ito yung pangalan mo, tinatakan ka, ito ang class of admission mo. Hindi po fake ang pangalan mo, hindi po ibang visa ang ginamit po ninyo as you mentioned. Kasi once you adjust your status, titignan nila sa database nila, Kuya Johan, di ba, yung visa application mo, yung inyong tawag nito, yung inyong entry mo, kasi usually nakikita rin nila kung anong notes ng CBP officer sa records mo Di ba? Sinabi mo kung sinong bibisitahin mo. And then also, once you apply green card in the United States, right, then they have your records, essentially. And that's what we advise sa mga kababayan natin, to keep the records and remember what they said or what they write, on their visa applications at the embassy and what they said at the CBP during the last interview.
All right. So mga kaibigan, wag po kayong mag-atubili na tumawag sa ating mga kaibigan sa Reeves Immigration Law Group. Ang phone number nila sa San Francisco where Attorney Diaz is 415-568-3777. You can see that on your screens. Attorney, I'll give you this floor. Baka meron po kayong mga ibang announcements pa.
Well, unang-una mga kababayan, lalo na sa Pilipinas, mga Pilipino, Phil-Americans and dual citizens, exercise your right to vote. We love our home country, the Philippines, and kung sino man ibobota natin, sana po maglilingkod para sa bayan at para hindi sa kanilang kapakanan. So vote wisely, malapit na May 9 sa Pilipinas, at sa mga nasa abroad naman, kung nakuha nyo ang inyong mga balota o kailangan pumunta po kayo sa inyong consulate, bumoto po kayo kasi importante po yan. At saka yung mga Filipino-Americans na gustong yung mga dating Filipino na mag-naturalized citizen, encourage pa rin natin na mag-dual citizen po kayo para in the future makapag-exercise kayo ng right to vote. And as one of the prior discussion namin ni Kuya Johan dito sa PHLV Radio, pakinggan po ninyo ang benefits ng dual citizenship. Now, sa mga programa natin susunod, Kuya Johan, I'm coordinating with the partners. Hopefully, you will also know kung sino yung partners ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. We've been here for like almost, 1980s pa kami, di ba? Parang almost 40 years or more than 40 years na po yata kami servicing the Filipino-American community para sa immigration needs po ninyo. Now, dun po sa ating mga updates naman, as we mentioned, pawala na po hopefully ang COVID, ang pandemic. We are back to normal, almost back to normal. I've been to immigration interviews at full capacity, almost full capacity na, Kuya Johan. Almost mabalik na tayo sa normal. So you expect that you receive your interview appointments for your green card applications, for your naturalization interviews. Ang problema lang talaga ngayon, Kuya Johan, yung sa embassy. Marami pa rin backlog dyan, right? And hopefully, I'm not sure and I don't know how the embassy would work to expedite cases, right? But of course, it's also a good idea to call us, mga kababayan natin, lalong-lalo na may mga termination notices dyan, to consult with an attorney how to reinstate your visa termination and how to expedite if there's a way to expedite your visa application. And again, maraming salamat sa PHLV Radio at sa mga viewers and listeners natin. Share and listen, watch and share all the programs ng PHLV Radio. Maraming salamat at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Attorney, at mabuhay kayo dyan sa San Francisco, California, at sa lahat po ng mga branches ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. We'll put on our comments section here on our page, especially here on Facebook, if you're watching us on Facebook, na iano natin yung mga contact details ng Reeves Immigration Law Group para makontak niyo po sila.
Kuya Johan, before we leave, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead po.
We are open opening a branch office also in the Northern California in Concord, Walnut Creek area, hopefully by June. No? So magkakaroon po ng Reeves Immigration Law Group dyan sa Concord area, Walnut Creek. And also, immigration judges will be assigned 20 dyan sa area ng Concord where we will have our office. So watch out for the new office ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. At maraming salamat ulit.
Wow, congratulations sa ating mga kaibigan sa Reeves Immigration Law Group. And makakasa po kayo mga kaibigan, we'll give you details about that. And when it opens, pag nag-ribbon cutting, we'll show you some pictures ng ating mga kaibigan from Reeves Immigration Law Group right there in Northern California. Malapit na yan. And also to mention before we end the program, you're watching us on this premiere episode. This is the 20th of April. Tomorrow, if you're watching us obviously on our on-demand platforms, medyo tapos na ito. Pero if you're watching us live tonight, tomorrow the 21st, there will be a DACA Renewal and Citizenship Resource Fair dito sa University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And we've been helping promote this as part of our public service. Do check that out mga kababayan. It will be at the Student Union Building, 4505 South Maryland Parkway here in Las Vegas, Nevada, para sa kanilang DACA Renewal and Citizenship Fair ng University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So again, Attorney, maraming salamat po for giving us this wealth of information about I-94. We will see you again next time, Attorney, para sa ating iba pang balitaktakan regarding immigration dito po sa Immigration Law on Your Side, brought to you by Reeves Immigration Law Group. Nagagaling po dito sa Las Vegas, Nevada. Ito po si Kuya Yo para sa PHLV Radio. We will see you next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.